Hey there, folks. Lucifer Leg of Warden coming back at you from the new Black House in the works, of course. I wanted to talk today about a little something that I got on my phone. I got a tweet from some silly woman. I never even heard of her before, but she was bragging about how she was now a member of Satanic Temple, as if that's something to really be impressed about if you're a Satanist. Well, here's the thing, alright? Anybody who's been a subscriber of mine for any length of time and has seen some of my previous videos where I talk about Satanic Temple will automatically know some of my feelings about them. And this woman, she was holding up her card, her membership card, taking pictures of her certificate and whatnot. And mind you, all this is stuff that you just buy. You don't even need to become an actual member or supporter of Satanic Temple to get this stuff. You just buy it. Becoming a member just takes you saying, oh, I'm a member. Go to a few meetings. There's no actual process there. There's no real reading material for Satanism there, and it's pretty silly. All my books on Satanism are still boxed up for the most part, but if you look back at some of my other videos, I actually show my library on Satanism. I have the Satanic Bible by I have almost the entire Anton LaVey collection. I have books. I have Peter H. Gilmore's Satanic Scriptures. I have Satanic Bedtime Stories, books by Black Pyre, and a few other material books. I have, for Christmas, I got Secret Life of a Satanist about Anton LaVey by Blanche Barton. And I even got Dark Runa, which is a reprinting and expansion onto Stephen Flower's Black Runa book, which was printed in very limited quantities way back when. And that's not even getting into what I have on my external hard drive. So, my library of Satanism is very expansive. Just to label some of the PDFs on Satanism that I have, the Satanicon. I have a lot of the tablets of Set. Right now, I have again the entire Anton LaVey collection. I have stuff by Michael Aquino, Michael W. Ford. I have the Bible of the Adversary by Michael Ford in digital format, and yeah, this is all stuff that we have. Now, Michael Aquino, this is one that I have in both digital version and physical copy. The 50th anniversary edition of the Satanic Bible by Michael Aquino. And it's a very interesting book. And one of the things, it gives a lot of the history behind some of what is in Satanism and the satanic community. One of the things that it gives is some of the early reading material that LaVey and Aquino were doing when they were researching for LaVey to write the Satanic Bible. And the first book that came up on their list of do we want to model Satanism after this is a book called Revolt of Angels. And what's really interesting about this book is when you look at the Satanic Temple's reading list, this is the self-same book that's at the top of their reading list. And what's comical is it was the first book that Aquino and LaVey spoke to each other about. Is this, something that we want to base Satanism off of, when LaVey was working on the Satanic Bible, and LaVey flat out said, no. He threw it right out the window. He wanted nothing to do with it. As a matter of fact, even to this day, when you look on the Church of Satan's website and whatnot, and you look at their recommended reading lists, that book appears nowhere on their recommended reading lists. the thing with Satanism is it doesn't matter what branch or style of Satanism you are. You can be an atheistic, an itheistic, you can be a theistic, you can be a Luciferian, Cthulian, Sith, Levian, and any of these other ones, the Setian, that are out there, and all of them will tell you that you need to do one major thing. Study, study, study. Because you are entering a religion. You are getting into a religion, not a political movement. And that is the difference between real Satanism, what actual Satanism is, and what the Satanic Temple is. The Satanic Temple is not real Satanism as a religion. They claim to be a religion, but in fact, they are a political movement, okay? They are using satanic imagery and claiming to be a religion based around 7 tenets that have nothing to do with Satanism. Their entire philosophy is based around these 7 tenets that you can have on the back of a little membership card that can fit into your wallet. And that's your entire religion. Whereas Anton LaVey wrote at least 5 primary books. He had articles upon articles upon articles. We have Peter H. Gilmore writing articles upon articles about it. Michael Aquino writing articles upon articles. And they have books. There is just a mountain of books. What I have, if I had my PDF library in physical format, you're probably talking about a stack of books that, at the bare minimum, is at least this high from the floor to me. Maybe higher, might even go up to my ceiling. I have hundreds of books upon hundreds of different versions. I have books by Ego Diabolus and authors that I've never even heard of, Miramimdon, just one out of the corner of the wall characters who may have come out and put out a little their take on Satanism. And here's the thing that Lucien Greaves, the guy who is the big hoodah in Satanic Temple, he's the Grand Poobah, whatever they want to call it, high priest. He claims he's not their high priest and whatnot, and that's fine. But if you're claiming you're a religious organization, you need to follow certain guidelines, and that means you need to have a clergy, which if you don't have a clergy, which Satanic Temple technically doesn't, that's one of the strike marks against you for being considered a religious organization. And another thing is you actually need a written doctrine, philosophy, and a little card of 7 tenets doesn't quite cut it. And yet, for some reason, the IRS has accepted them as a religious organization. For whatever reason, I don't know. Because they have no personal texts or tracts of their own. They have borrowed things from all over the place. But I digress, and I differentiate. Lucien Greaves, who is the big wig over there in Satanic Temple, I've actually met the man before he was even involved with Satanic Temple, and one of the most pathetic meetings I've ever had in person with an individual. I met him in a bus station of all places, and I didn't even know who he was at that time. This was way back when. It was like 2009, 2010. I was still very young into Satanism, very new to it, and what it was is somebody had seen my tattoos in the bus station. They came up and started talking to me. And we were talking. They were a Luciferian. And we were talking for a few minutes. And this gangly, dorky-looking guy comes walking up and tries to get in on the conversation with us. And it just digressed from there, and it was one of the most pathetic encounters ever. It's one of those ones where you're like, oh, pat him on the head and send them on their way. And had I known who he would end up being in the future, I certainly wouldn't have just sent him along his way. At that point, I had been a Wiccan high priest. I had done all sorts of things. But anyways, he's sitting there. Lucien Greaves, Douglas Mesner, or whatnot, is sitting there saying, "We're in evolution, a progressive evolution of Anton LaVey's Satanism." Where's the Satanic Bible on your reading list? Where is anything on there that is actually satanic literature? If you're an evolution of LaVey Satanism, that's fine. That is perfectly fine. But where is the literature? Half of your members have never picked up one scrap of actual satanic religious literature. This is a mountain of literature that has been put out since 1969, when the Satanic Bible first got published. And even before then, with the Cloven Hoof and newsprints and whatnot. Since 1966, and other articles that Anton LaVey may have written even before then, when it was called the Magic Circle, and Order of the Trapezoid. Where's the literature? I can understand things being an evolution from LaVey's Satanism. That's perfectly fine. Almost every single style of Satanism nowadays, every single style of legitimate Satanism, is evolved and began with Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible and the outline that he outlined there as the bare base root, bargain basement. That's it. That is their root, the Satanic Bible. All other forms of Satanism has come from LaVey. You want to talk Temple of Set? They were one of the first branch-offs. They came in 1975 after Anton LaVey and Michael Aquino had a falling out, and they split off. They formed their own group. Setians don't like to be called Satanists. They don't like to be lumped in with Satanists, but it is a form of Satanism. It is a divergent branch of Satanism. You want to talk about the Sith? George Lucas based the Sith off of Anton LaVey's own scriptures about Satanism. He used Anton LaVey's own edicts and philosophies, and he modeled Darth Vader and Darth Sidious and this whole structure of evil Jedi after that. And he called them the Sith. And then when people took that from the movies and made an actual religion from Sithism, once again, they held up Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible as one of the core root books that needed to be read. This is Sithism. This is a fictional religion brought from Star Wars into a real world, and they're still holding up Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible. Again, Cthulhianism. Alright, part of the Order of the Trapezoid, one of the cool things about that is that was one of LaVey's oldest and earliest inventions for Satanism, and it came from the Order of the Shining Trapezoidahedron. From, I know that's a big word, it comes from H.P. Lovecraft. It was a thing in one of H.P. Lovecraft's stories, and there you have it. There you have it. He took that and formulated the Order of the Trapezoid based on that. So, right from the word go, Satanism has been involved with Cthulhianism and H.P. Lovecraft since the word go. When you look in the satanic rituals, there's 2 rituals right there that is based on the writings of Lovecraft directly. One's even called the Call of Cthulhu. And those people, Venger Satanas, I've spoken with the man. He's a really interesting, very knowledgeable individual. Wrote a couple books, Liber.AO and Cthulhu Cult. I have digital versions of those books. Really good books. If you ever get a chance to go out and download them or buy them, I recommend you do so. Okay? One of the things that he held up, the earliest things that he read was, guess what? Satanic Bible. Every style of Satanism, I've even spoken to other Luciferians and whatnot, they all say, yeah, we're into Michael Ford now, we're into this now and whatnot, but where did it all begin? With going into a bookstore or a bookshop and finding a copy of the Satanic Bible and having enough courage to buy it. The Satanic Bible is the key. That is the root fundamentals. I don't care what other style you are. Your root fundamentals have always come from Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible. Some people say it's dated, and that's fine. That's fine. Some people branch away from it and do whatever. Again, fine. Do whatever you need to do. All LaVey's style of Satanism was meant to be, is just a jumping off point to something bigger. But with Satanic Temple, it's not there. I know there are a number of actual Satanists that are members of Satanic Temple who have actually done the research and whatnot. And for whatever reason that they're involved with this organization that breeds nothing but ignorance is beyond me. I have heard some of the most ignorant comments in my life come out of Satanic Temple. Sometimes it's stuff that I become very embarrassed by as being a Satanist myself, where they're coming off and they're saying some of the stupidest anti-satanic things. One of the most unsatanic comments and things that Satanic Temple is based on is egalitarianism. Satanism has nothing to do with egalitarianism. We're a very selfish religious group. Our number one priority, first and foremost, is ourselves. Our number two is our families, mostly for our own self-gratification. We're vicious at times. We're not afraid to pick up a gun and put a bullet in a person. But one thing that we're not going to do is go out and bother people. We're not going to push our religion, our viewpoints, on a public street, which is exactly what Satanic Temple does. One of our biggest things in the 11 Rules of the Earth is when walking out in public, do not bother anyone. Should someone bother you, tell them to stop. If they do not stop, destroy them. Satanic Temple goes out and they're going to all these big events. They're holding all these what am I looking for? They're going to government offices and holding morning prayer in these government offices for opening up a government service. They're forcing themselves in there. Satanists don't have any interest in that. In Satanism, we're not interested in politics. Yes, we have political points of view. Sometimes our political points of view don't even agree with each other. But they are our political points of view. Whereas Satanic Temple is all political. From making the Baphomet with Children statue to combat the Ten Commandments on public government grounds. That's a political activism. From the creation of After School Satan to combat the Good News Club. That's a political movement. Now, mind you, those are things that in the early on, I'm like, that's great. That sounds really good. I like that. I was a supporter of Satanic Temple in the early on until I realized where the problems were. Until I started speaking to members and I realized on just how idiotic they were coming off. There was one individual, I'm going to wrap this up here in a few minutes. There was one individual who I ran across the one time, and he was a gay person and whatnot, and he claimed to have been a Satanist since the mid-90s. Okay, that was during Anton LaVey's time. That was in the latter years of his life, but he was still around. Okay, so we have a temple member who was around during the latter years of Anton LaVey's life. He was an active Satanist at that point. I was like, cool. What have you read? Nothing. He hasn't even read Satanic Temple's literature. He's read nothing. I was like, have you read the Satanic Bible by Anton LaVey? No. Okay, the Satanic Scriptures by Peter H. Gilmore? No. What have you read? Nothing. I'm like, nothing. Not even Satanic Temple's literature. Nope. Just woke up one day and called myself a Satanist. Dude. Okay. But that was the mid-90s. This is the later 20-teens. This was literally like 2-3 years ago I ran into this guy. And literally in that entire time, he had never read anything. He had started calling himself a Satanist just for shock and awe factor. Just for shock and awe. And that is the big thing in Satanic Temple. They use satanic imagery for shock and awe. They dress in black robes and have these black satanic American flags. They do these public rituals, not for an actual religious purpose, but to shock people. There's pictures of them getting dressed up in baby masks and diapers and whatnot, and harassing pedestrians for what? The right to have an abortion. Some people don't agree with abortion. If you ask an actual Satanist, one of the things they're going to say is that's a pretty dodgy subject. Some of us will say we're all for abortion. Some of us will say we're not. I used to be pro-choice until I started doing some research. Now I'm pro-choice up to the end of the first trimester, first 6 weeks, 6 to 10 weeks. After that, I have to say no. Because at that point, it's more than just a little thing that they can suction out. You know, but then you have, I'm not going to go into the nature of abortions and whatnot, but I found out what the second and third trimester abortions detail. I always knew what late term and breech birth abortions detailed. And I was never a fan of those. I never approved of those. At that stage, the baby's fully formed. It can survive on its own. You're going to stick a needle in its head. And, well, we're not going to get into any further of the subject. But these are people who are arguing for that. And then they're told by Lucian Greaves that in certain states where these states state that if you get an abortion, you can get an abortion, but you are responsible for the disposal of that child in a safe, sane way, and you must provide funerary rights for that child. They tried to use, Lucian Greaves says, that Satanic Temple members were immune from these laws because they violated religious bodily autonomy rights. I'm sorry. You go and you have a procedure. You have a baby removed from your body. That baby, at whatever stage, can either be cremated by the abortionist, which a lot of abortion clinics do have facilities to dispose of the parts in a very sanitary way, but some don't. And these are the ones that you need to take responsibility for for you ending this baby's life prematurely, and then providing proper burial rights for it. And you're going to say that once it's out of your body, you still have bodily autonomy rights over it? No. That was a living, independent creature that was in a symbiotic relationship with you, and you ended it. It is not a parasite, it is a symbiote. Why do I say symbiote instead of a parasite? Because I've heard a lot of people call babies parasites when they're in the mother's womb. I'm sorry, but that umbilical cord goes both ways. Yes, they're taking a lot of nutrients, but they're also providing the mother with various healthy benefits, such as stem cells and whatnot, that helps preserve the mother's own immune system. Yes, it is a burden on the mother. It is a very big burden, but it's not a parasite. This is just how we reproduce as humans, as mammals. And they want to hide behind their religion and bodily autonomy to refuse to abide by the laws. Not just provide an infant with funerary rights, but to avoid the law. This is what I'm talking about, the very laws of the land of the state that they live in. And that's something that every Satanist and every satanic organization out there flat out states. You need to abide by the laws of the land that you live in. Okay? If that law says that you got to do something that really you don't agree with because of your religion, tough titty twisters. Your religion as a Satanist is not going to protect you from that. That's just a bare point. You have to be very careful about how you will exercise your religion as a Satanist where the law is concerned. Anyways, that's where I'm going to leave it. Thank you all for joining me in this damn near 30-minute video. This was something that's been eating me for a few hours now, and first chance I had to film it. I'll be probably making another video later on showing the progress of the Black Parlor. Things are going pretty good there. We've got other projects going on around the house and starting up new projects. I'll be showing them as time goes on. So thank you all. For now, this is Lucifer Lake of Warden. If you like what you're hearing, like what you're seeing, if you're curious about Satanism and whatnot, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. Check me out over on minds.com because I'm starting to post stuff over there. And hit that subscribe button. Leave me a comment down below. Hit that like button. All that happy horse shit. And for now, I'm out of here.